Welcome back to yet another video on Java design patterns. So today we are going to discuss about the creational design pattern. The name is builder design pattern. We are going to discuss what exactly the builder design pattern is about, when to use it, what are the advantages and the disadvantages. We'll see the examples, how to write a builder design pattern, right? So without wasting the time, let's begin. Now, builder design pattern, as I told, this is one of the design pattern, the creational design pattern. Now, you must already be knowing design patterns are used when to solve certain problems, certain common problems which are faced by the people, right? And you must have heard of Gang of Four, where they have designed the design patterns which according to the common problem faced by it. Okay, so one common problem was creating a complex object. Okay, and the way how the it is was constructed. Okay, so this builder pattern is the way to create to construct the complex object step by step, not only like creating a complex one, but using the step by steps. Okay, and if you compare it with the other creational design pattern that builds the object in a single steps, right? You call it and then the object is created, right? But the builder pattern allows you to construct your object in a very controlled and a flexible manner, right? So often you write a separate construction process for representing the object. So you write certain ways to add certain behavior and other attributes, right? So the construction process is important here. Okay, so as I mentioned, it's a way to construct the and it only focuses on I would say assembling its parts independently, so without exposing the construction logic to the client. So when the client is actually trying to create an builder pattern using the builder pattern, the objects, right? So client is unaware of what exactly it is happening internally, right? So you just step by step create the objects. Okay, whatever it is required, and maybe if it has got large attributes also, it will be taken care with the basic things which are required, and then whatever it is required, it is added. The goal is like I mean the, we can create different representations basically, but using the same construction process. So based on the different requirement, we can create a different objects, right? So we used to have many different ways to create it and deal with. Now, why first of all, why do we require the builder pattern, right? As many people would have a doubt. I mean, let's say people are attending interviews, and in the design pattern section, the interviewer asks you, have you worked on design pattern? And you name couple of names, and then ultimately he might ask you like, do you know what is design pattern? Why do we build a design pattern? Why do we use it, right? So basically, the main core objective of builder design pattern is constructing the complex object. Okay. So when we have too many attributes, too many configurations, too many parts, right? So builder design pattern, it simplifies the process of creation of an object. Okay. So it's step by steps create the object, the complete object, whatever it is required, right? So just take an example, we are constructing a car, right, with a multiple customizable features, right? Let's say we want some certain type of engine type, we need certain wheels, certain seats, right? So you can decide on the I would say what is your requirement and what kind of object you want, right? And you can strategically, not the right word, but actually you can step by step create your car, whatever, what kind of engine you want, what kind of wheels you want, what kind of seats you want, right? So what happens by using this design pattern is that it improves your code readability. So now many initialization or creation of of an object happens the using the constructor with many parameters, right? So if attributes are less with parameters are less, it's fine. Uh, but what happens if the attributes are like in thousands or let's say hundreds, right? So it's quite difficult to maintain a sequence, and also it is cumbersome to create with an instance using the constructor, right? So it will make your code easier to understand and maintain as well. Who is going to maintain it, right? And one other advantage is that reusability. Now it allow you to create multiple representation of an objects, right, using the same construction process. You define that particular process, you just jumble the sequence or just jumble whatever things are required in it, then you are just up for creating the objects, right? So that's the advantage. Now there is a flexibility and also the concept of encapsulation, where you doesn't expose your internal logic, right? The construction logic, what is happening inside is encapsulated. You doesn't have to expose it, right? So it's basically, I would say, it's separation of the logic which is there, and then it doesn't hard code it, right? So certain logic is taken at another different level, and then you only focuses on what objects you want, right? What kind of objects you want. Now where do we use builder design pattern, right? So basically, in the GUI development, when you are constructing very large user interfaces like dialog boxes, menus, right, and you have n number of parameters or objects, right, you can use there. Report generation, creating a complex reports or documents with some dynamic sections, right, which has to be done, right? So there also we can use. So it depends on the customization, right? And game development, let's say designing the game character levels or assets with various configuration, like you need some car that, let's say, you want to load something, you want to be accustomed with certain clothes, or anything, like if it is an war game, right, or some utensils where war related things, such can be gun or some knife, right? So depend on the need, we can create it. Serialization, so basically building a structured data like JSON or XML, right? So that can be the use case, I would say. Now configurable objects, right? So you can actually write your own customizable objects, like you can create a car, you can create a computer, you can create a house, you can create a aeroplane, right? Whatever it can be applicable for the practical and the real world objects, right? We can create it, right? In a simple step by step process, right? Test data builders. Now constructing a mock objects when you're trying to deal with test, that after the development and testing you are going to work on it, right? So constructing the mock object, testing the object using the unit test cases, right? These are the use cases which we can think of and we can apply it. Now when we write a builder design pattern or a class, right, or we design any component, right? So these are the components which are required when you are dealing with builder design pattern. The first is builder, which is, it can be either an interface or an abstract class, so which specifies certain methods to construct the part of an object, right? Now we have another part which is construct concrete builder, which is going to implement the builder interface which we have written, right? And we are going to assemble the parts into a final object. Finally we are going to create step by step the final object, right? Now director is one who is going to define the construction process, ensures that what sequence should be followed, right? So it gives the direction of it. Now product, the actual object being constructed, the one which is actually the core part of that particular which we are constructing, that is the product, right? So these are the four things which we normally, as a minimum things, would be required to create a builder design pattern. So hope you got this particular concept of what design builder design pattern is about and what are the use cases, and right. Let's look at the example now. As we already discussed, what are the steps, right? So if you see building a car, right, we have written a car with certain attributes and certain with a constructor with a private, and then we have used that, right? So now we have written some toString method as well. Now we have written a car builder for it, right? A separate class is written for it. We have added the same attributes. Now if you see inside this particular, there is a set engine method, there is a set wheel, right? There is a set seat, right? So if you see here, we are at the build, what you are trying to see at the build method, right? It is going to create this, but if you notice, right, there is a this called, right? So you have a certain engines to be created, certain wheels to be created, certain, I mean, you must set those particular things, and then you can create that instance, right? So it gives that feasibility, flexibility of creating a complex object, right? Now what you do is that you create and cast as you call that particular builder method, and then you add the engine first, the wheel for second, what type of seats you want, then ultimately you construct the whole object, right? Whatever you require, you add it step by step, and then you finally create that object, right, using the build method. So that's what how it's completely easy, step by step and concise. Now, when it comes to dealing with HTML, right, it's pretty simpler, similar to that, right? So now, if you see, there are string builder has been added, and then we have the HTML builder class where we have some elements. We are adding certain elements, like appending it some tags over here, right? Now, ultimately, we are going to build it, and we have some two string methods over here. But similar in similar way, if you see, these are all add elements which you see, which we are going to add it, whether it is, I mean, what kind of tag we wanted to add, but constructing that particular object and ultimately building the HTML, right? This is how it works, right? Hope you got the example, and also you're pretty clear on what exactly the builder as a core thing does, right? Now, when we talk about advantages, we have already spoken about it, but simplifying the object creation is one of the core tasks and core feature, I would say, which will break down the construction process like into the manageable methods or step by steps, right? So, and also it improves the readability, like whenever who is going to touch your code and improvise your code, right? He quickly understand what is the design pattern used, what is the structure, and how we can maintain further, right? So it not only reduces your complexity of the construction with multiple parameters, but it's kind of easy to maintain, right? Reusability now allows you to creating different variants, right? You doesn't want certain variants. Let's say you have just for an example, like some certain variant sedan, you want certain, you want a compact car, or you want a ultra luxury, right? So based on your different variation, the say objects can be created using the same steps, right? Encapsulation, now how the objects are created is completely encapsulated. You doesn't know the construction logic, but ultimately what you want is given to you, right? So internal logic is written by the person, but you doesn't have to deal with what happening inside, right? You just require this, and then you can create. Now, the disadvantages with this is that sometimes it happens that it increases the complexity, because depends on the parameter, right? So are you adding certain additional classes based on the complexity of the objects, right? The code. Sometimes it might not be necessary for a simple objects creation, but yeah, sometimes it's increases the complexity. Now there can be an overhead where you can introduce some certain boilerplate codes as compared to some like simple objects creation like the new, right? But some additional steps are involved in it. But ultimately this particular design pattern is used on a certain problem which addresses a certain problem, okay? So which we can use at a certain use cases, as we spoke about, right? So it's quite beneficial when you're trying to create an object that has large number of optional features, and also there are less number of mandatory things, right? And you want to assemble in a sequence in a step by step process. So it gives you flexibility, readability, and also a separation of concern where you doesn't know the internal logic, right? So this is all about what builder design pattern is about. I hope I was able to explain you in a pretty clear manner with an example, and also give you a clear cut picture of what is the advantages, what is the disadvantages. So this video will be quite helpful when you are trying to attend any interviews, or let's say you're for gaining the knowledge on what is builder design pattern, because I've seen many people struggling with design patterns, the interview questions, right? So uh, they might clearly able to answer some basics of Java, but when it comes to design pattern, they are scared of, or maybe they have not well prepared of, right? Hope this video is able to get you on track, and then you will be able to understand clearly what builder design pattern is about, right? I would like to say thank you for watching my videos and also liking it. If you have not, if you are watching this video for the first time, or if you happen to be watching, don't please forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. So there will be more content for you in the upcoming days. Uh, thank you for watching.